welcome to the Yarn Parlor. Today is Tuesday, June 7th. I'm Allison. You can find me on Ravelry and Instagram as A11one. This is my podcast about knitting, spinning, and knitwear design. Show notes can be found in the Ravelry group, and welcome to new viewers and any returning viewers. Thanks for joining me today. Today I'm going to talk about whips, spinning. I have a shop update this Friday and some video of the Tel Aviv Pride Parade from this past Friday that I went to. We will start with whips. I have not been doing a lot of knitting this past week, and it's because we adopted a kitten last Wednesday, right after the podcast. So my time has been a little bit preoccupied with taking care of a kitten because we already have a cat, and so we're keeping them separate because bringing these two cats together may be a bit of a problem. My cat that we already own is a grumpy old man who has had the house to himself for a very long time, so he is not super happy about this kitten. So we've got the kitten in a separate room right now, and I think this week we're going to try and introduce them to each other and see what happens. Anyway, my time has been a little bit preoccupied. Done a little bit of knitting, but not a whole lot. We can start with my June socks, which is yarn from Kaleidoscope Dye Works. This is called Doodle Art. It's 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. Do I have the card? Yeah. There is her information. You can find her shop on Etsy. There's 463 yards, and I am knitting the Hermione's Everyday Socks. So last week I showed this yarn and I was going to knit, I just have the cuff, show you my very interesting rib cuff. I was going to knit the Whiz Bang socks because it has this simple slip stitch pattern, and I thought with all the colors in this yarn it would be a really cool effect. Well, because there's a lot of black in this yarn in between the colors, the slip stitches kind of got lost. If it was a slip stitch and it landed on a black color, it didn't really show up, the slip stitch. Anyway, so I have changed it to, so I ripped that out. And I'm now knitting Hermione's Everyday Socks by Erica Luder. Yeah. And which is a free pattern on Ravelry. I'm sure you've knit a pair of, if you've knit socks before, you've probably knit this pattern. But it's a nice textured, easy textured pattern, which I think will look better for this yarn. But like I said, I only have the cuff so far, which is a 1x1 rib. I was gonna do twisted rib because I really like the twisted rib, but I figured I'm just gonna follow the pattern and see what happens. I'm knitting these on Knit Pro Zing needles, 2mm, which is a little bit smaller than the needles that I normally knit with. I usually knit on a US 1 2.25, but I wanted to try and tighten my gauge a little bit, so trying these out. And this is my first time using Knit Pro Zings. They're not a very sharp tip, but I don't know, it's weird. For some reason, I enjoy knitting with them. The cord, however, is a little bit like I like a strong, thick, not thick, but a stronger cord. But this, like my Chow red laces, but this cord is a little bit plasticky, which I don't totally love. But I surprisingly enjoy these needles, so I will definitely use these again. And I think that's it for these. This pattern also has a new to me heel, the Eye of Partridge heel, so I will be able to still try a new heel. And second thing that I've worked on this week, I'm still plugging along on my Thing 1 Thing 2 socks. I probably won't show these again until they're finished because it's, I mean, this week it's only been like a couple inches on them. I think this is where I was the last time, somewhere around here. So I've done a good, I don't know, 4 inches on them. But I made them really tall, so I still have a ways to go. I think it's there. So I still have about 2.5 inches before the cuff, and then I have to put in my Afterthought Fish Lips Kiss heel. So not much to say about these. It is Neely's Knits yarn, Thing 1, Thing 2. It's a self-striping yarn with contrast yarn for heels, toes, and cuff. And there's her card. And you can find her on Etsy. I'm knitting these on my signature needles, US 1, 2.25. And I was looking online because I was doing my show notes last week, and I was like, I think that my gauge with these needles is a little bit looser, so I wanted to try and buy the next size down, or look at the next size down. Just looking. And this is the smallest size that they have for DPNs, is the US 1. So unfortunately, don't think I'll be buying from them again. And for their circulars, it's a US 3 is the smallest size needle. So, c'est la vie. But I do like their DPNs, how sharp they are, the stiletto tips. I was about to say heel again. Stiletto tips. So that is all my knitting for this week. Man, that was fast. What's that, 5 minutes? Hopefully I will make more progress for the next episode to show more knitting. However, this month is really all about spinning anyway because of the spin along. So I'm fine with that. I've got some spinning to show you, and I forgot to mention what pattern that was. That was the Vanilla Bean Striped Sock by Emily O'Grady that I'm using for my Thing 1, Thing 2 May socks. Which should have been done in May, but let's not get into that now. For spinning, I have the spin along started June 1st. Some people have already posted in the thread what they're working on, which is great. I love seeing what people are making and spinning. I started this spin along for beginners. If it wasn't just for beginners, anybody is welcome to join. The thread in there talks about all of my guidelines for the spin along. For the whole month of June, you can start now. You can start the last week of June. It's ongoing until June 30th. Yeah. But I just wanted to say that that I did start this for anybody who wanted to begin spinning, because I love spinning so much, and I just started this past December, so I haven't been spinning that long. But I don't want any new spinners, beginner spinners, to get discouraged with their spinning. If you're planning to participate in the spin along this month, it's not the easiest thing to learn how to do, but you'll get the hang of it. What I wanted to say is that no matter what you do, if you're adding twist to fiber, you are making yarn, and that is the whole point of this, really. If it's thick and thin, if it's a loose spin, if it's high twist, anything. I think that making yarn is quite exciting, and to be able to start from fiber to spinning yarn to knitting with that yarn and making something that you're going to wear is just amazing. I'm finding it very exciting. I've just started knitting with some of my yarn that I've spun, and there's something really special about knitting something out of yarn that you've made yourself, which is why in July I wanted to do the spin along and the knit along back to back, to knit with your hand spun yarn that you spin in June, because I want to keep that excitement going. I think that once you spin something, even if you do get discouraged this month with just spinning a couple yards and you really, the only thing you could knit is a swatch, I still want you to go into the July knit along and knit that swatch, because once you knit with your hand spun yarn, I think it creates a whole new excitement to continue spinning with. And there's so many different fibers out there and fiber prep that maybe you don't get discouraged and try other things. If what you're starting with isn't working out for you, you can try different types of fiber, and just keep going with it. I have been spinning on some Classy Squid Fiber Co. And the first thing that I've been working on is my apple picking. Showing. It is organic Polworth Merino BFL, Fin Sheep, Tessa Silk, Mulberry Silk, Firestar Nylon, Silk Noil, Sari Silk, and Angelina. So here's her mini bats. These are the two colors that I have left. I bought 3 bags, so I think I have roughly 7 ounces. I plan to knit the dotted rays shawl pattern from Stephen West with this. Here is what I spun. This has been soaked, and I did snap it to add a little extra fluff. And here is what I'm working on now. There's 5 colors in these mini bats. I've already spun all of the sky blue, and it had some like puffy white fiber in there to create a cloud look to it. So yeah, so these are the 2 colors that I have left, which I will be spinning this week. Excuse me, let me just fix my shirt there. And I'm just spinning them singles, which is my favorite thing to spin. I like working with single ply yarns. And then, yeah, so in July I hope to cast on the dotted rays with this yarn. The next fiber I've been working with is beet salad. Which is organic Polworth bamboo and silk noil. And here is some of those in the mini bats. And I've been, so my first spin with this was a 2-ply, and these also have been soaked and snapped. I spun a 2-ply and I spun a single. Because I made a sample of the 2-ply, and how I did that was I took apart the mini bat and then I separated the pink from the green and the yellow as best as I could. And I spun the pink and then I spun the green and yellow, and then that's how I plied them together. So I'm guaranteed this barber pulling. And I wasn't sure if, again, because I'm not a huge fan of 2-ply, I don't know. I think that it's because I don't necessarily knit a lot with a barber pulled 2-ply. Anyway, so then I spun the single just as the mini bat is, with all the colors together and drafted from all the colors. And I think that I actually like the 2-ply better. What I wanted to do was knit a swatch with both samples and see which one I like better. But right now I'm rooting for the 2-ply. It's got this overall, what is that? That's probably the bamboo, the white bamboo strip going through it. And it kind of adds this overall sheen to both halves, where in the single it kind of twists up with the colors. I mean, it still is an overall sheen, but I think it, I don't know, I think it looks nicer with the 2-ply and the barber pulling. Anyway, so I'm going to knit a swatch out of these two and then decide how I'm going to continue spinning these. I've got roughly 8 ounces of these mini bats, and I'm thinking maybe like a slouchy hat is in the near future with those yarns. I did want to go over a couple things for spinning to keep in mind while you're spinning. And I wanted to go over using a leader, because since I mentioned it in your materials, I should probably talk about how to use one. And so a leader is just, this is about 3 feet of yarn. I'm using a single that I hand plied, and you're going to create this loop, put the 2 ends through the loop over the shaft so that it creates this knot on the shaft, and then wrap it around a couple times, and so that you're ready to spin with it. Then take your fiber end, your drafted fiber, pre-drafted fiber, I should say, and you're going to overlap it with the leader so that when you start spinning, the fiber will grab on and spin, well, if I can do it properly. The fiber will grab on and spin with the leader. This helps make spinning easier to start with, to begin with. So there I've spun onto, it's harder than it looks, spun onto the leader. So the fiber has grabbed onto the leader, and that's how I can start my spinning. So you can wind, no, it's just unwound. It's not working. So you can wind on to the shaft using the leader. There we go. Now that's finally starting. I do not use a leader when I spin. I spin right from the fiber. So what I do is I will draft at the tip very, very fine hook it around the loop back onto itself. And then I just spin directly from that. And then I'll take it off the hook and wrap it around the shaft. And that's how I start my spinning, leader free. But you can do either way. I also wanted to talk about holding the fiber supply, just things to keep in mind while you're spinning. I linked to, well, in the spinning tips and tricks thread, there are plenty of videos there on how to spin, so I will not be doing a tutorial on how to spin, but I just wanted to talk about some things to keep in mind while you're spinning, like holding the fiber supply very loosely so that when you draft from it, you're not supposed to like grip your fiber supply really tightly, which is something that I have to sometimes keep in mind, because you want it to be able to pass through your hands quite easily while you're drafting. Also, if you find that you're spinning your yarn way too tight, you can always just let the spindle go back on itself. Like if it's coming out really, really tight and you're getting some of these little corkscrews quite easily, you can always untwist your yarn to relax it a bit. Which is something to keep in mind when you're first starting to spin, because a lot of people will overspin and you get nervous. And I actually, when I first started spinning, I was over twisting, as most people do, but I would get so nervous that I would just twist it even more because I'm in a rush and I'm hurrying to draft it and with the spin and everything. So I would spin it even tighter. But if you find yourself doing that, relax a little, and you can always unspin before you wrap your yarn onto the shaft. You can unspin it a little bit in the opposite direction to just loosen that twist if you want. And the last thing I wanted to say was just remember, if you're spinning in one direction and plying your yarn, you're plying in the opposite direction. That's it. That's it for my spinning tips to keep in mind. And the last thing I wanted to talk about was Tour de Fleece is coming up in July. It's July 2nd to the 24th, and we've all heard about it, even if we're not spinners. I wasn't planning on partaking in this year's Tour de Fleece because I don't even really know the rules and all of this stuff, but I will be joining the Blaine Fleece and Fiber Tour de Fleece group. I'm going to put a link in the show notes if you are interested in joining, and I'm also going to put a link to the overall Tour de Fleece Ravelry group page, whatever, group. So if you want to look up, if you're interested in joining a group, yeah, I'll give that information to you guys. And the sign up for Blaine Fleece and Fiber, if you would like to join them, the sign up ends June 20th. So just keep that in mind. And I'm really excited because there's prizes involved and I get to spin yarn. So, I mean, what's better than that, really? Nothing. Yes, okay, so Tour de Fleece. I will talk about Tour de Fleece more in the next coming episodes, the end of June. But I did want to mention it in this episode because if you are interested in joining the BFF, Blaine Fleece and Fiber group with Jennifer, Her sign up ends June 20th, and yeah, you should sign up. So one of the prizes in the Blaine Fleece and Fiber group is my popcorn bag, which I think is really exciting. So you should totally join to try and win a popcorn bag. But if you don't want to do that, I'm going to have a popcorn bag shop update this Friday. I wanted to show them real quick. I have the same one logo popcorn bag, but this one is using a lighter interfacing. So it still stands on its own, but it's just a little bit floppier, a little bit squishier. This never had interfacing, but the bottom part is just a little bit squishier. And the inside lining is the stars that I've used before. And it comes with a little ticket loop. And here is the progress keeper, little popcorn progress keeper that it comes with. The second version that I have is using a new, I worked with this is a design, the popcorn bag is a design from a Spoonflower designer. And I worked with her to get a fabric where I could create both logos, two logos on the bag. So here is the newer version with the two logos, and the seam is placed on the side. It still has the little loop. This one doesn't have its draw cord put in yet. But I also have Harry Potter linings to some of the bags that will be put in. I want to go over those linings real quick. They're not all Harry Potter. It's movie and TV show fandom related. So I've got the spells from Harry Potter fabric. I have the one I just showed, which is the 4 houses. Then I have a Doctor Who telephone booth. And Totoro, my neighbor Totoro lining, along with the stars that it always comes with. And then the last popcorn bag is a new sock size style with a zipper instead of the draw cord. And that one will have the stars and some of the Harry Potter linings as well. So that shop update will be this Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Gotta put times to these things now, I'm not used to that. And those are the 3 styles that will be going up in the shop. And yeah, that's it for this episode. Thank you for joining me, first of all. I will see you not next week. I'm skipping next week, but I will be back on the 21st, I believe. Yeah, Tuesday, June 21st is when my next episode I will film and put up on the following Wednesday. And yeah, stick around if you want to see some video from the Tel Aviv Pride Parade. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you on the 22nd. Bye. And if you want to stick around for the video for some Tel Aviv Pride, yeah. This past week was the Gay Pride Week in Tel Aviv, and on Friday was the Pride Parade, and I went to it last year and had a blast, so I decided to go to it again this year and take some footage for you guys. It starts in a park with a speeches and a drag queen show, which is a ton of fun. I love drag queens. And they usually lip sync to English songs, so I understand what's going on. But any drag queen show in any language is always entertaining to watch. Even though I can't follow the jokes because they speak in Hebrew. And okay, so they start in the park with the speeches and the drag queen show, and then they walk down. It's like set about 3 or 4 blocks from the beach. So they'll walk down to the beach, and that's where they pick up the floats. The floats only go along the beach boardwalk part of the parade. So I've got, that's where we stood this year, and then I got some footage of the floats and people walking. And then they end it with a party on the beach. So until, I think, so the parade, the park part starts at 10, the parade is around 2, and the party starts around 3 until sunset, I think. And they fence off an area, and they have a stage, and people sing, and they have beer, and it's like any other festival-y type party. And yeah, so that was this year. There was an estimate of about 200,000 people, so it was huge. 35,000 were from overseas, and they specifically came here for Gay Pride. And it is the largest Pride Parade in the Middle East. So here is some footage of the Gay Pride Parade in Tel Aviv. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the 21st. Bye.